All right, welcome into another edition of the High School Blitz podcast, and this is another special coach interview, and this is really special because this guy is coming off a huge win. I think I'm putting that lightly, Ryan. Huge isn't enough, I don't think, but what do you think?
It's probably one of the biggest wins in state history if you look at
there we
where
go.
it was and what it did.
Yeah, there we go. Spring Valley head football coach Brad DIngess joins us on the podcast. Coach, welcome in.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
So before we get to the actual win itself and the game and what happened, we've talked to several coaches, talked to players about what's been going on with the color code, matrix system, whatever it's called, and with the MSAC and with the conference being 60% down basically and not playing. I'm sure that's been a challenge as far as scheduling because you weren't supposed to play Martinsburg. And then 6 days later or 6 days at notice, you're playing, a great program in Martinsburg. What was the preparations like, outside of the challenges of COVID and all that stuff, but then now all of a sudden you got to play Martinsburg?
We talked to them before about our open date. I think it was the 23rd. They were supposed to play Jefferson, and we were talking about moving it up, or they were going to move their game with Jefferson, and we was going to try later in the season. So there had been some communication with them before about playing. So it wasn't anything like completely out of the blue with the possibility of playing them, but it's just been all crazy. Just, wait until Saturday to find out if you can play, if your opponent can play, and if they can't, what can happen. And it's just been a struggle. It's something like we've never dealt with before, obviously.
You guys, anytime you can beat a team with that kind of win streak on the road, I mean, that's a pretty awesome feeling. But for you guys in particular, that program up there has denied you guys a couple of times in the last few years. I got to imagine the feeling after that one was pretty special among your crew there.
Yeah. I know a lot of people's made a big deal out of that win streak. That wasn't the big focus really so much for us is we felt like we had three really good football teams when we played there in the state championship, obviously. And, that was – we want our program to get that. I mean, obviously – if you're in it just to win games as a coach, it's not what you do it for. I mean, it's just to help mold kids to be good young men and good citizens and have that bond that they have. There's nothing like it in high school football. But, you do have certain goals for your program, and that is to win a state championship. And to win one, you've got to beat those guys. So, that was extra incentive for us is to get to that level to where, we got there, but certain things happen in the games and, they end up not very close. So the only way we felt like we could to get to that level was to play those guys. Maybe not every year just because of the distance, but, whenever the possibility came about to try to play them. And when we talked to them and to go up there that first year, it kind of sweetened the deal a little bit. They're going to make the return trip next year. So that was a 2-year deal for us to, compete with those guys.
Yeah, that is a sweet deal, and also the fact that you were struggling with some back issues, weren't you? Traveling up there, you guys had to stop. You didn't even know you were going to make the trip, Coach. What was going on?
Yeah, and the older you get, those bus trips aren't as easy. It's the things problems, but it was a little, that long. It's not very comfortable sitting in the seat all the time by yourself. So it's time you can get up and get up and walk around, it was good. But it created some problems because normally when you go take a bus trip, you want to go down, sit down at a restaurant, feed the kids and all that. And you just can't take 60 kids and your staff and sports staff into a restaurant. So we had to stop at a rest area and eat some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So that was
you made a call up there, man, that I've been begging for a coach to make for years. You score a touchdown to go up 7 and you go for 2. And to me, that's always been something I've never understood why that risk isn't taken more. Worst case scenario, you're up 7, they still got an extra point, and they're probably going to tie you at worst.
Yeah.
But to do that, especially after the drive you went on, was that just a feeling that you had worn them down and, hey, man, it's been so long, let's go get this thing right now, go up by 2 possessions and put a stranglehold on this game?
Well, I actually called for 1, and one of my assistants, Billy Malashevich, he come up and he said, let's go for 2. He kind of talked me into it. He said, look at their body language, and it worked out. We ran the same play as we did right before that. So it ended up, I'm glad he talked me into it because that made it a 2-score ball game and kind of changed the way the whole game went after that.
When the onside kick, Martinsburg cut the lead, and they got the onside kick. You said you felt like you were going to puke because it was almost like, here we are, we did all this. Martinsburg's coming back. You started probably having some flashbacks of those games running through your mind. But good to see your team be resilient as well on defense.
Yeah, they kind of bowed their neck. I mean, they're so dangerous, and you don't want to give those guys an extra opportunity. And we had played so well, and the game was a roller coaster anyway. And you just kind of have flashbacks of, especially in 18, that game was pretty much dead even. And then all of a sudden they blocked that punt and returned it for a touchdown. And that's how they get you, is big plays and special teams. And that was one that, we had talked about. We can't give up that big play on special teams. And we avoided one earlier with the bad snap on the punt. I thought that was one of the biggest plays of the game when Jack Roy went back and picked it up and actually just threw the incomplete pass, and it was a turnover on downs rather than giving them really short field position. So it was pretty gutsy by our defense to hold that one out.
Yeah, you also, just talking about gutsy, and Ryan would love this. 32 passes attempted, I believe, in the first game. You had 2 passes total, right? In this game, you were just running the ball, trying to control and keep Martinsburg off the field. It's complete ball control. And we talk about special teams, but to be able to run them down like that, I'd imagine that was, you talk about their body language. I'd imagine that was a huge part of the win as well, going up there as far as controlling the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we feel pretty good about throwing the football, but we wanted to shorten that game with the athletes they have. And if we'd have tried to get in a match where we were trying to throw the ball, it just creates a lot of mismatch problems for us. They're able to, man up on us and keep that extra guy in the box. So, for us, it wasn't probably the best game plan for us to do that. We were able to hit that pass late that kind of, that was a big play for us too on that 4th down, but we can do both. But we just felt like that was the best thing for us going into that ball game is if we could control the line of scrimmage. We tried to do it 3 times in the state championship game, and we couldn't afford to get down, and that's what happened in those other games that we played them. We got from behind, and it kind of took us out of our rhythm of what we wanted to do on offense, and it was really important for us to stay ahead in that ball game.
It's not very often you see an offense that's comfortable with throwing the ball 32 times one week and 2 the next. I mean, usually you're one or the other, and I know it's been a couple years of work for you guys, becoming more multiple in what you can do offensively. Do you feel like this is as multiple a team as you've had, and what's kind of been the process of establishing that over the last few years?
Really, it's having more than 1 or 2 kids to be able to run and catch the football. A couple of years ago in 18, we'd play 3 different quarterbacks. We had Nate Ellis, that was more of a dual threat, more of a runner. And then we had Will Atkins, who was more of a pocket guy. And then we played Grayson Malashevich there when we did Wildcat stuff. So we had some different stuff that we could do. But really, we'd only had 1 or 2 threats throwing the football. I feel like we got 4 or 5 kids that we can split out or run some routes that can run and catch. And we got a guy in Roy that can distribute the football. This is kind of more the first time we've had in a while that we could, spread it out and be able to throw it if we needed to.
Yeah, and talk about Grayson. Have you heard big things there, Ryan? You're covering West Virginia now, and I know Neil Brown said some good things about Grayson up in Morgantown. Have you been keeping in touch with him as he's moved his way up to Morgantown?
Yeah, I talk to him all the time. He's doing good. He's there on the 2 deep a little bit on the 3 deep. He's holding on field goals and stuff. And, I'm proud of him. As Dad talks to him, he goes to him, watch him up there every time he can. So it's, a kid that walked on that a lot of people didn't give a whole lot of chance to, who's going up there making noise.
Good stuff. Also scheduling, we mentioned that. Technically bye week for you, but you guys have been looking for more teams to play with everything going on with the MSAC. What are you hearing around? I know you've been going even out of state. I know you said you got a lot of no's, but what's the process been like with that?
It's nuts. You sometimes you feel like you got a game scheduled and worked out, and then you look at the map. Out of state teams and all that stuff has to go by our map. So, and you got it about worked out. You start talking about a contract, and you realize that they're in the orange or whatever, or they would be gold and you're not. So all the AAA teams close to us can't play right now, except for the Cabell County and, with the instance at Midland right now, they can't play for a couple of weeks, and Huntington already has games scheduled, and that's the bad part is there's some teams you can play, but they've already got games against teams that can play. So that's one of those things. So it is what it is. I thought we were going to get to play Musselman after this week, and we didn't get back from Martinsburg till about 5:30 in the morning, and I got a little tired, and I think we all didn't return phone calls and played some phone tag a little bit, and they had an opportunity to play a game against a good opponent in Fairmont, and they went ahead and did that, and I can't blame them for that. But that was a little bit of phone tag and stuff like that. But it's frustrating. There's some teams that can play and choosing not to, and they're mostly never really been in danger of shutting down so much because of numbers, and we are. I mean, we've had to sit out a week already because of Orange, and we're looking at numbers now. Ours are kind of trending up to be a little high, and we're in the gold right now, and we got Huntington next week. They're in the green, so if that goes out, then you're looking at not playing them, and some of the other counties that are gold doesn't have AAA football teams in it. So it's frustrating. So, anytime like this week we can play and there's nobody to play. So that's, it's nobody's fault. And I just hate it. I hate it. It just doesn't seem fair. I think there should be some way they could work it out to where, some of these, Kanawha County hasn't got to play any at all. There's counties that haven't got a game in. Hurricane up in Putnam County, they've only got one game in. So, you understand a lot of it, and you understand why they're shutting some stuff down. But it also, it doesn't seem fair if everybody on one team is negative and can still practice, and another team can still practice. I don't understand why you can't play each other, as long as, other states have figured that out, that regardless of what's going on the outside, they've been able to still play because both teams have been healthy with no positive tests.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you find another opponent soon. You do have Huntington on, I believe, October 2nd is when you're playing Huntington. So if all goes well with that, you have plenty of time to prepare for Huntington, which is always a good thing for you and your team. And congratulations, though, on that big win. And we wish you luck the rest of the way, and we will talk to you soon, Coach.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.